Good evening. My name is Paul Magna, and I am the chair of the board for Sunrise School Division, and welcome to the regular board meeting for Sunrise School Division for January 21st. I'm going to call our meeting to order, and we are going to have O Canada sung to us by Enola School. Please stand if you can do so. Thank you to the students from Enola School for singing O Canada. I'm certain that the local trustee is probably bringing cookies to you in the near future, so thank you for that. Speaking of that, could the local trustee do the treaty acknowledgement for us? Thank you. Trustee Boyton.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thanks, Lorraine. For the people that are listening online, is that we have 5 trustees here. 4 of the trustees are at home because of inclement weather. But I am going to go around the room and introduce the people that are here. So we have Trustee Superintendent Reed beside me. We have Secretary Treasurer Thiessen. We have Assistant Superintendent Fieldberg. We have Princess Anna Lanchevin. Did I say that right? And Principal Redicop that are here. We have Trustee Smith, Trustee Boytson, Trustee Rowan. We have Trustee Harris, and we have our super duper. Go ahead, Mr. Harris. Why don't you introduce our executive director? Come on.
I'm not on the thing. My mic's not working. We have our executive assistant, Sarah.
You're awesome. And on certainly with us as well, we have Trustee Dent, Trustee Rowland, Trustee Nicholin, Trustee Wilson, and they're online with us tonight as well. So we have the full contingent of our board certainly here present as we do business. So I need the adoption of the agenda. Please be it resolved that the board approve our agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Smith and seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions to our agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Next part of our agenda is chair's comments. So anybody that's listening online, please send your questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Please your name and address of the sender to include, and we'll get to your questions for the people that are online at our question period near the end of the meeting. And if you have any questions then for our 2 principals, certainly send them in there because usually we get about 15 or 20 questions from the public while the principals are here, so thank you. I'm just teasing, guys. I'm going to open up Share Story. Are there anybody who would like to go ahead and share stories here? Trustee Rowan.
I'd like to thank OPUE for hosting a great event on January 11th. I brought my family and we joined in on their Malonka celebration. This event is quickly becoming an annual family favorite of ours. We loved watching the fellow Ukrainian dancers and taking part in all of the festivities. OPUE will be having their next meeting on Monday, January 27th in OB's library at 6:30 p.m. And Dugald Pack will have their next meeting this Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the library. Babysitting is available for those that need it.
Thanks, Trustee Rowan. Anyone else? Trustee Smith?
I just wanted to say that Beaujeu Earliers had their pack on January 14th. They had our wonderful Krispy Kreme fundraiser. They sold out at record numbers. They're going to be starting up the hot dog days soon to add to their, they're doing pizza days and Subway days already. Kindergarten registration is taking place on January 27th to 31st there. And Gillis's kindergarten registration is January 28th from 4 till 7.
Thanks, Trustee Smith. Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay. Hearing none, I do want to say a big thank you to our staff for Friday, for the work that they did in accommodating our students that were at the schools, and then making sure that their colleagues and all the students were able to get home safely. So kudos to the administrators and all the staff that worked hard in a tough situation on a tough day with us with regard to Friday and the weather. So thank you for going ahead and doing that. When people go above and beyond and take over extra classrooms of kids and those kind of things, and then making sure that kids and staff get home safely, that's very much appreciated. So kudos to all the staff that did that. We appreciate it very much. Did I miss anything from anyone? Okay, let's move on. So I did say before Trevor, we're going to introduce the board, the two principals that are presenting. I'm going to ask our trustees to introduce themselves. I know I introduced you, but how about if we introduce ourselves just to let them know who you are and the area that you represent. So I'm going to start. It's Paul Magna, so I represent the Powerview Pine Falls area of the school division.
I'm Robin Harris. I represent the Broken Head area, which surrounds the town of Beausejour.
Hi there. My name is Melissa Rowan, and I represent the Oakbank area.
Hi, Anna and Elizabeth. I'm your trustee, Lorraine Voigtson. Nice to see you. Hi, I'm Alicia, and I represent Beausejour.
Dustin?
Hi there, I'm Dustin Dent. I represent Ward 4, which is the Oakbank and surrounding area.
Diane?
So I can't be with you in person tonight. It's Diane from Ward 3, Dugald, Diane Rowland.
Dawn?
Hi, I'm Donna Wilson, and I'm representing Lac du Bonnet.
Thanks, Donna. Dawn?
I'm representing Whitemouth and Reynolds area.
Anyways, I just wanted you to get a chance to meet all of our trustees that are here. Because I'm going to ask you a question at the end that I want you to speak to all of our trustees about. And you'll get from my question. You've probably heard I'm going to ask you that question anyways. So, Mr. Reid.
So I think introductions have been done, and I think we've got Richland School with Anna Langeville first, correct?
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about our 2023 year to 2024 year. That marked the beginning of our 3-year literacy goal. Initially, our staff ended up focusing on improving reading levels, specifically through comprehension among grades 1 to 4 students, by using a program called Literacy Footprints. It was a program that was aligned with reading recovery principles. When I started this year at Richland School, new to it, it quickly became clear to me, that a lot of our students lack foundational literacy skills, such as recognizing vowel sounds and decoding words, which made assessing comprehension a big challenge. Recognizing this gap and in alignment with Manitoba and Sunrise's broader move away from kind of reading recovery models, we shifted our focus this year to a phonics-based instruction using UFLI primarily, which stands for the University of Florida Learning Institute. The shift wasn't random. I have quite a lot of firsthand experience with UFLI from my previous roles as an elementary school teacher, and I witnessed how effective it was in building foundational literacy skills and boosting student confidence. Bringing UFLI to our school felt like the right move to address the gaps that we identified. And I often compare this to hockey or standing or any kind of sport. If you can't play hockey if you can't even stand on skates. And that's kind of where we were at. We were still working on standing. So similarly, students really can't analyze text meaningfully if they're still struggling to decode words. With UFLI, we're already seeing growth in decoding skills, phonemic awareness, student confidence, and we're setting them up for long-term success. Next slide, please. So a question that some of my staff had for me was, what was foundational literacy? It really focuses on the essential skills. Yeah, it focuses on the essential skills students need to become fluent readers and writers, including phonics, decoding, and phonemic awareness, which is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate sounds and words. Without these skills, students struggle to read and write effectively, and in our school we've noticed this challenge even in the middle school level. Many students can't sound out unfamiliar words or spell basic words because they don't have these foundational skills. The number of times students asked to spell a word without even attempting it themselves was concerning. They're not confident because we haven't really taught them or broken down how to break down words systematically. In today's example, I was working with a group of grade 5 and 6-year-old students, or grade 5 and 6 students, and the difference on the page was cup and comp, and we struggled with that, and that was kind of the lesson we were working on. And this is where our UFLI comes in. It's helping us target these gaps with systematic phonics-based approaches. It gives students the tools they need to decode, to spell, and ultimately feel more confident in their abilities. It's a process, but we're already starting to see progress, and it's setting the stage for our long-term success. Next slide, please. So some of the strategies that we're doing. At the beginning of the year, I personally assessed the reading levels of all students in grades 1 to 8, establishing the baseline that we needed. We used Words Their Way and other benchmarks to reading levels. While there was some initial hesitation about moving from small group UFLI to whole group approaches, we've begun to implement UFLI more broadly with guidance from Natalie Ledee this new year. Up until now, one teacher has been leading daily small group UFLI work. However, we've started introducing UFLI during literacy blocks and as a whole group. We can actually go down one slide because I'm starting to talk about our grades 1 to 4 here. So this allows us to, we've started introducing UFLI during literacy blocks as a whole group. So this allows all students to benefit from its systematic phonics-based framework. This shift ensures a consistent approach to literacy instruction across the entire classroom. We're also integrating Orton Gillingham strategies so that they emphasize multisensory learning, like tapping sound or writing words or letters in shaving cream. It's quite messy, but our students really, really enjoy it. And this just engages different learning styles. So by using the structured literacy framework, we're building students' vocabulary and giving them the tools they need to succeed. Looking ahead to the new year, we plan to expand UFLI implementation in every classroom using our baseline data to track growth and adjust our approach as needed. This work ensures that we're building a strong foundation for all of our younger students. Next slide, please. And then in grades 5 to 8, UFLI is primarily a program that we use in the earlier years, but we have started using it kind of in a small group setting. Our results, kind of our data this year, showed that 6 out of our 15 students were reading below a grade 4 level, and 3 of those students were at a grade 1 or grade 2 level. When you have 15 students in class, that's a lot of kids that aren't reading at the level you want them to be. So we implemented a small group UFLI pullout that provided that systematic phonics-based instruction. It's important to remember that UFLI is a process and not a quick fix, and while I don't expect overnight results, we're already seeing steady progress. So students who started at a grade 1 or grade 2 level are now decoding more efficiently and moving closer to grade level expectations. We can actually move down one more slide. And this is kind of the data that I've been seeing. So I put the first and last initial, and then I put the grade and male or female. And you can see in the first box, most of my kids were kind of at that emergent stage in that words their way data. And this is a really great tool that we use to kind of help track whereabouts students are. It's nicely done in the sense that it uses science to help kind of break down how we're learning sounds. And it's one of the better approaches that we have that's readily available and easy enough to understand for all staff. So most of my kids were kind of in that emergent stage, and you can see the progress that we've made from September to November just with how many levels we've been growing. And this was just using a few kids in a group for smaller group pullouts. So we're seeing great things starting to happen. And then if you want to go down one more, in my grade 5 to grade 8, we had quite a few kids who were in that early blends and digraph stage, which at grade 5 and grade 6 was concerning to us. So all of those 5 kids in that September slot under early received that targeted pull-out intervention, and we can see that most, if not all, of them have grown significantly with where they're at and what they can do. And then I think we've got one more slide. Oh, that's it, sorry. I didn't put a closing slide in there. So to close, to sum it up, our shift to a phonics-based approach with UFly is helping us address all of our foundational literacy gaps that have been hindering our students' ability to read and write effectively. By focusing on these essential skills, we're setting up ourselves for long-term success, not just in literacy, but across all areas of learning. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You can breathe. It was all good. You know, it's not easy, of course, coming in front of us, but you did a great job and shared some information and good data. So I'll turn it open to the group. Anybody online? Any questions? Okay, anyone in here? Any questions? Go ahead.
One question, one observation. I just want to thank you for personally taking that task to find out where the students were at. Since you're new to the school, everybody's new to you, you don't know what level they're at, so there's a lot of work to take that on and make sure that you knew what you were dealing with and where to start. And just a question, Natalie Hiladi, how often does she come to your school?
So I built a really great relationship with Natalie Liddy last year. I was doing quite a bit of UFly at Beaujeu earlier, so we communicated quite often. And when I accepted this position and I told her this was my plan, I was in touch with Natalie consistently. She's been to her school a number of times. She was supposed to come on the Friday to kind of come out and see how things were going. And I think that would have been the 4th or 5th time she came to come help us kind of implement it as a whole school. So we've been in touch quite a bit, and she's been wonderful at helping us kind of navigate this shift.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Melissa?
Not a question, just an observation. I really appreciated having the data here to look at to see where your students have moved. It really shows the progress that you've made, and I just wanted to comment that it's great to see.
So you're going to get the first question that I've got, and so part of it is that you're identifying through a strategic approach as to what do you need to go ahead and do. So as you're talking to 9 trustees, and we certainly, you know, this is the kind of information that we're looking for, because do we want to see kids with regard to what you've shown us, with regard to where they are in the data? No, we want to see them certainly in later stages, certainly as to where. So what do you need?
That's a loaded question. I think in our school right now, it's another body is quite honestly what we're needing. I think we have our program set really, really well. I feel quite strongly about UFly and being able to lead and teach my staff how to implement UFly. But this year we have 9 kids in high school, and next year we're going and those kids are constantly wanting and needing support. So to be able to effectively run our classes, it would be really lovely to have another body in our school simply to help assist the high schoolers so we don't have constant breaks and interruptions in our day.
So we'll refresh our memory. I don't remember what Richland School, what it's like. What's the breakdown? So you've told us here about kids, but give us some more information.
So this year, just due to the spacing that we have in our school, we have 12 kids in K to 4, and then we have 15 kids in 5 to 8, and 9 in our high school program. Next year, we're hoping to create 3 separate classrooms where we have a K to 2 classroom, a 3 to 5 classroom, and a 6 to 8 classroom. And then we'll have our high schoolers as well who are using the TMO program and wouldn't have constant supervision is what that is.
Are your high schools using TMO right now? And so they're working independently in another room and they're coming back to get some help from the grades 5 to 8 teacher? Okay. And what's your staff?
So we were fortunate enough that we were able to hire a third teacher this year. So this year we do have some high school support going on in the afternoon that was built into the schedule after noticing that we needed to support the high schoolers. But in doing so, we take away from being able to fully commit to having 3 classes teaching smaller groups of children, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. So I want you to explain to me what you mean. You just said you have 3 staff, so do you have 3 classrooms, or I don't understand what you're doing.
So we have 2 classes going currently to the best of our ability, and we have 3 classes going when we're doing literacy and numeracy. After lunch, our teaching numbers change and we group our students a little bit bigger so that we can support the high schoolers as well.
So what are your teaching? I don't know what your teaching numbers are.
Yeah, 3 teachers.
So you have 3 full-time teachers. They're there all day. Okay. So why don't you have 3 groups in the afternoon?
We were really struggling with our high school students, staying on task, being able to handle the math. We have 5 right now that are in grade 9, and they are struggling with their math, their literacy, their science. The course load is quite a bit, and to have to do it all online without a whole lot of support, we needed to throw a teacher in there just to keep them up and caught up with their classes and their lessons because we were not being able to support anything else otherwise.
So the 3 teachers you're talking about are dealing with the kids in K to 8. The 3 kids you're teaching about deal with, go ahead, Lars.
I think you really have 4 groups. In the morning you have 3 from K to 8, and the high school kids are independent. And when they need more help, you're reconfiguring those 3 groups in the morning into 2 bigger groups of K to 8, and the third group is now the high school. So really, you would ultimately like to have 4 groups of kids.
Well, and then to add to that, as Elizabeth was just saying, like we're also trying our best to cover each other's preps in that time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Jeff?
I think we're just ready to jump in. We'll head right into Grafton School here with Elizabeth.
So my name is Elizabeth Redekop, and I'm the principal at Grafton School, which is located on Springfield Colony. Our school is unique in that we have the smallest student body in the division. If you haven't been to our school, I invite you to come because we love having visitors. Our students are very friendly and enjoy having new people. So we had 2 goals this year. We decided last year that just noticed that we kind of needed a different focus for early years and middle years. So for our earlier students, our goal is that they will become more resilient in their ability to respond to and overcome disappointments, overwhelming feelings, and relational and academic challenges. And for our middle year students, our goal is around independence. They will practice taking initiative and engaging in productive struggle to increase their confidence and to better prepare them for their transition to high school. I was asked to focus only on one goal for the presentation tonight, so I am going to be speaking to the early years goal. So what led to this goal? At the end of last year, our earlier students were all at or above grade level in their academic areas. So an academic goal wasn't really forefront of our mind. However, we were noticing that even though our students were generally happy and motivated to learn, we did have a lot of trouble with emotional regulation. Tears and emotional outbursts were very common in the early years class. And we felt as though the most meaningful area to focus would be on building resilience and skills in this area. So we started off this year by being intentional about talking about our feelings, developing a culture of talking about feelings and making sure that students had both the vocabulary as well as the time and space to just talk about how they're feeling and why, was sort of the foundation. In this slide, you'll see a couple of the resources that we've used in the early years class. These are our stones and our poster. In October, I started introducing the concept of the zones of regulation. Students are immediately able to identify with the characters in the stories, and they look forward to hearing the next story in the book. So you can see the book there, The Road to Regulation. The characters remain the same through the story, but we'd really only read like 2 pages a day and really take that time to discuss and relate to the characters. And then on the other side, there's the tools to try. So that's kind of the next stage of it, which is the strategies. And those have been really fun too. They're cards that have a picture that shows the strategy, and then on the back there's some text that the kids can read. And so we tend to practice those when kids aren't upset or when they don't necessarily need that, but just to sort of in a role-playing type way to use them. And then also I do pull them out. So if there's a child that's sort of getting dysregulated and maybe wouldn't want to, we just sort of have a practice. Oh, let's practice. So everyone practices even though maybe only one student needs it, but it seems to work really well to not single anyone out. And then, so yeah, it's been both fun as well as helpful in our class. Yeah. So how do we know that we're making progress in meeting our goal? I always find data really difficult in our context. We have so few students, and when you have only 6 students in your class to sort of try to figure out the percentages, it gets skewed very quickly with just 1 or 2 students. But I decided that probably the most meaningful way to get some feedback on how are we doing was to do interviews with the students. So I created just this basic self-assessment, and I did it as, I had this visual for them, but we did it as an oral interview. And what I found in talking with the students is that they were very keen to talk about this. Like, it's something that, it's not like they hear zones of regulation, like, oh, and they're not, that's again, like they're really enjoying it and really engaged. And yeah, they all had really positive things to say and were able to explain the concepts to me. On the following slide, you'll see just a couple examples of things that the kids said. So looking at books helps me feel calm. I like to squeeze my special squishy toy when I'm mad. The finger tapping breathing is fun. I could try putting my head on the desk if I'm tired. So just as a kind of a few examples. So they're both, you know, realizing when they can use the strategies, but also have a positive feeling towards like, oh, these are things that I actually enjoy doing, and because we're trying to create a culture where, yeah, it's just that there's that space where they can take care of themselves, and I really believe that if we meet their underlying needs and we realize like what they need, that then they will, yeah, the behavior will kind of follow. Yeah, overall I'm finding that we are having less emotional outbursts in class, and that students are better able to express their feelings appropriately. It is sort of a hard thing to quantify, right? Like, because every situation is different, but it's happening quite often where I realize, oh, this triggered a reaction, but the reaction I would have gotten from that same type of thing last year would have been more intense or longer. And so it is sort of hard to put that onto a chart, but I am noticing a big improvement. And last year where we would have been having, 2, 3, 4 crying outbursts every day, now we're maybe having one a day or one every second day. So there's definitely a marked change in terms of the noise in our classroom and just generally, and also just finding the kids are more confident in being able to speak up for what they need. Like I had a kid just the other day say he was really upset about art, which happened before gym, and then in gym he said, I just can't do this game because I'm still mad about my picture. I said, well, why don't you go to class and just like sit down for a while? So I checked him a few minutes later, and sure enough, he had his head under his desk crying, but he had just decided himself, like, I just can't do gym because I'm too mad. And for them to be able to vocalize that, I think that was a huge progress for that child. So, students are learning that they can make choices and decisions that impact their own health and happiness, and they're also learning how those choices impact others. And you see there, one of the things we do talk about is that it's not our job to control others. Of course, everyone likes to give each other ideas, but the focus really is in what can I do, what decisions can I make, and what control do I have over myself. So, final slide is just a thank you. I do appreciate everything that you do, and I know that you're all here because you want to support our schools. And special thanks to Lorraine. We really appreciate our connection with you, especially.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Trustee Boyton.
Not a question, but we are coming, you're going to be on our tour list for the spring this year, so we will, as a group, all the trustees will be coming out to visit you, so we'll let you know when that's going to be taking place.
Super, that'll be really fun.
Anyone else? So I've got two. So, how do you know at the end of the year that you've made a difference?
I think I would probably do a similar thing that I did, in just the recent weeks in getting ready for this presentation, is interview the kids and probably ask very similar questions that I had, like what strategies do you use? When would you use them? How do you feel? And I think, I think it's not just a one-day thing, right? You kind of notice as time goes on how does the culture of the class feel? And certainly, like, this isn't just my opinion. Like, we have discussions over the lunch hour all the time, and so just getting a sense over, like, from my colleagues, like, we have 2 different educational assistants that work alternating days, and they were a big push behind the school, saying, like, we really need to work on this emotional regulation stuff. And so, I would take their objective opinion too. They're not in the class as much, but definitely getting some perspective from them too, to make sure it's not just that I think things are going better, that they also are seeing that.
Yeah, a real hard goal to measure in any quantitative way, but it's going to be about what you're seeing and how you see the kids and your colleagues are seeing it. So a tough one to be any kind of quantitative, but it's going to certainly be what you're just telling us as to right now. So thank you.
The other thing I'll add is a big part of this is sort of the homeschool connection. I've always made calls to parents, but I have noticed that this year, like, there have been especially a lot of calls on this topic, and I find that the parents are really on board and really, like, this is a high priority for them and their kids. And so if we have an issue at school that either I feel like we haven't resolved or that we have, either way, just to call parents and say, hey, this happened, you might want to debrief, because I want them to be having that strong emotional connection with their parents. And it's a lot easier for parents to be able to have that if they know, oh, I should ask my kid about this. Right? And I find parents really appreciate that as well. And so I guess also hearing from parents, that could also be part of my data, right? Like, what are their perspectives? Yeah.
So do you talk to your parents about using zones of regulations and how can
Yeah.
they follow up with that at home?
Yeah, I haven't sent any like formal paperwork home with them or anything, but I have in some of our conversations mentioned that, and they've said, oh yeah, like my kids talked about the colors, and so yeah, that's definitely something the parents are aware of.
Okay, so you're going to have a chance as well. You've got 9 trustees that are listening to you. And it's, you know what, you were right in the middle of budget season. So what does your school continue to need?
Yeah. So my big ask this year, and I realize it's a big ask financially, but it's been an issue for years at our school that we don't have really a teacher in charge. So when I'm out of the building, we don't have kind of a backup person to be carrying that role. So what happens now is that I have a part-time teacher in the mornings, and so she's not officially a teacher in charge, like because she's only half day. But then when in the afternoon, if I'm not at school, then essentially our EAs, like we have an EA every afternoon, and then whoever's on that day would be then sort of in charge of the school in the afternoon, you know, locking up, and if they'll call parents and orient the sub, but yeah, that is sort of it's an awkward situation in our school. I would say that we're, like, in terms of numbers, yeah, we have it's not that we don't have enough bodies necessarily, but it's a challenge that we don't have that teacher in charge. Yeah.
What is your enrollment?
We have 15.
So can you break it down for me?
Yeah, so six students from K to 3, and then 6 students from 5 to 8, and then 3 in high school. Yeah. So in the mornings, essentially how we have it is we have a middle years teacher in the morning, and our EA is supporting the kindergartens and the high schoolers in the morning. And then in the afternoon, then I'm teaching K to 8, but then I have the EA sort of supporting that because we need to obviously break that apart. And then our high schoolers don't really get any support in the afternoons.
Thank you.
Can I say one other thing? Just another point that I know Trevor will maybe aware of, and I think Anna mentioned as well, like in terms of staffing, we do have to consider the preps and the admin time as well. So even though, yeah, so that's just something to factor into that formula, I guess, that if we have 1.4 teachers on site, we actually only have 1.1 teachers like with students, right? Because there's the 0.2 admin time and the 0.1 for preps. So yeah, just to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Turn your microphone. So thank you very much, the two of you, for coming out and presenting to us. We know it's not always that easy, but it does give us a little bit of a flavor for your school if we haven't been able to get there. And as I think Trustee Boyton said, is that we are coming out again, and we're going to get a chance to get out to, I think, your school. So that's great. Trev, did you want to close with anything?
No, just a thank you to two of our colony principals who, in my short tenure in visiting colonies are really the Swiss Army knives of Sunrise School Division because they kind of have to be, multifaceted and good at everything, running their schools K to 12 in multiple roles as teachers, as administrators, part-time custodians, I think at times, educational assistants, you name it. Our colony administrators fill a lot of roles in our communities that they serve.
Well, thanks for sharing the insight. We really appreciate it, and certainly safe drive home as you're getting out there. Thanks, guys. We're going to move on. So we have 5.1. We have minutes. So minutes of our January 7th meeting. So be resolved, the board adopt the January 7th minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan and second by Trustee Boytson. Any questions on our minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. We passed 7-0. Thank you. So 6.1 is superintendent's report, Trev.
Yeah, just a few things of note over the last couple of weeks. So just a quick update for everyone on our Power School data breach. So we do know that at the beginning of January, we were notified by our student database provider, Power Schools, that our student information system was part of a very, very large breach that happened across North America and potentially even outside of North America. So not necessarily a Sunrise specific concern. It wasn't anything that we did wrong at our end, but our, like say, database provider, Power Schools, it happened at their end, and they've identified that. So to date, we've shared 2 communications with families that are available on the school division website. Nothing really new to add from there. Just as we continue to get information from Power Schools, we will be sharing that with our families and our school communities as soon as we get it. Just highlighted in the report, the division hosted several meetings over the last couple of weeks here. Always great when we get to bring our divisional staff in and work together and do some learning together. January was also a busy month for superintendents in the province who are part of the Manitoba Association of School Superintendents. Several meetings and training sessions available during the month of January that I was in attendance at, so I just highlighted those as well. And just a reminder to everyone who's listening and all of our stakeholders that trustees have begun their budget process for 25-26 and for the 25-26 school year. And if anyone would like to provide feedback or input into the budget, they can share that by emailing budget@sunrisesd.ca. That information is also available on our school division website. And just finally, well, second to last, just going to share that, as previously shared with the board, on this coming Friday, I forgot to put the date in the report, but this Friday on January 24th, we'll be hosting representatives from Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning who will be coming out to speak with us about our continuous improvement plan. Just actually confirmed today that we'll actually have 2 of the deputy ministers in attendance on Friday, so that's exciting to get to speak with that audience. And then the last thing I was just going to share, it's not in the report because most of the, well, I think all of this happened since we submitted the report, but we've had some challenging weather over the last few days. And so just want to say thank you to our transportation department. Certainly Friday morning presented some very challenging weather for our drivers to be out in, as well as the end of the day today. A bit surprisingly, we had some blowing conditions. And, our drivers did a great job, getting everyone to where they needed to be or getting them safely returned, home. So bravo to them. And then also, we had in between those, we had some very cold weather, which always makes it very challenging to start and operate our buses. And I know all the way back to Sunday, our transportation department had their mechanics in, starting buses on Sunday, getting them ready to roll for Monday. Turns out we didn't need them on Monday, so they spent most of Monday starting them up and getting them to go and doing more of the same this morning to make sure everyone could get to school. So just, thank you to our transportation department for the work they've done over the last number of days for us.
Thanks, Trevor. Any questions from Trevor? Trustee Rowan?
Not a question for Trevor, but I just kind of wanted to add on because I did get a lot of questions. Just to remind parents during the cold weather to maybe be checking our website for late bus reminders.
Thanks, Melissa. That's a really good point. Thank you. Any other questions for Trevor? Anybody online, questions for Trevor? Okay, so Trevor, I have 2 of them. One is says, and so I wrote down here, tips on media relations. So you went to, you did something about media relations. Are there any tips that you came out that you could share certainly with us about anything about media relations?
Unfortunately, the bulk of the media relations session was spent on Friday morning on the phone with school principals and trying to sort out our transportation on Friday morning. So, I did miss the bulk of that. But the one thing that I did take away that sort of confirms, I think, approach that I've always believed in, that I've seen actually at the core of this division, is it is just so important in terms of building trust and relationships with your stakeholders that you just be transparent with your information. That you just you create transparency, You provide people with the information that they're looking for to the best of your ability. You don't, yeah, you just share what you know, share what you can confirm, and be transparent with the people that you're serving.
I was with Trevor there, so he might have missed this while he was feverishly sending messages back and forth, but it was something that's maybe easy to remember because it's a little bit humorous. But the one thing that stood out was be transparent and be truthful, but don't say more than you need to because you put banana peels all around you. It was like, don't lay banana peels all around yourself. Be honest, tell the truth, but don't go on and on and on because then you're just at the risk of saying things that you hadn't thought about and you say something that's interpreted the wrong way. So just be clear and succinct.
Good point. Thank you for that. Trev, one more thing. I think that the trustees will be very interesting to hear kind of the outcome of your January 24th meeting about the continuous improvement plan. We'd love to hear when we get together next a little bit of information about it, about how things are going, certainly from the department's point of view as to where we are. So please come prepared to give us a little bit of report or come prepared for questions that you haven't prepared for. So your call. But anyways, thanks, Trev, for that. We're going to move on to, so we have a board reporting schedule. You have that information that's there. If you follow through with it, we're on track with the information that's coming out here. You'll know that we have you'll see some of the schools that are coming to present later on as where things are going. We'll stay tuned certainly for that. So thanks for that, for the reporting schedule. And we're going to move to yourself, Jody, the Secretary-Treasurer's report.
Thank you very much. Just I want to update the board on what the activities are going on with all the operations, but I do want to kind of piggyback off of Trevor's comments. I just wanted to thank the Transportation Department. When this report was completed on Friday, we were going through the thick of things of communication and how to communicate with our families. And I just want to say we want a big thank you to our mechanics, our drivers, and the staff in the office at Transportation. When the phone calls started rolling in, the weather was turning poor and the staff were hit with a wave of phone calls. So I want to say thank you to all the staff that took their time and they were patient with the families and the mechanics. When our buses get stuck on the side of the road or if they break down just because of the cold weather, they are out and pulling those buses out where they can and boosting and getting those buses started. So even on the cold weather days, they're trying their best to get it going. We've seen some challenges over the last couple of days, and between Jason Ziprick, Trevor, and myself, there's a lot of communication, and I think it's been really good. I think on Friday, as soon as I heard something or somebody heard information, new changes of information, new weather changes, power outages at schools, we kept each other all in the loop. I think it was probably one of the most challenging times that I've experienced, just with the layered impact. Who would have planned a power outage on top of everything? So I think the communication was really well, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who was involved in providing feedback at very time-sensitive manners and points of that day. With that, Transportation, they keep up the great work and keeping our students safe. They're doing a great job. The rest of the departments, they've all been busy, of course. I have the information here on the report. Everybody can read at their own leisure, but I do want to give an update on the maintenance project with SCI, the large capital project. There has been some progress on the heating and fluctuating in heating. I just received a report today that it seems like they've been maintaining the constant temperatures, which is a great feedback report. We will be monitoring it this week again. We've been monitoring and doing daily checks. And with the components that were replaced seems to have done what they needed to do, and they're maintaining the temperature. What we'll see though is as our temperatures fluctuate, so the last couple of days has been really, really cold. We're going to be getting into a bit of a warm spell where we'll see how this fluctuates, and again, communicate with the contractors. So I just want to say thank you to SCI for giving us the feedback that we need to provide to those contractors, and we've had many of those contractors on site tweaking and investigating and calibrating. So they're doing what they need to do. This project is not done yet. We've communicated to the contractor that we are staying on top of this, and there will be no holdbacks released until we can confirm that the project is done.
Thanks, Jody. Go ahead, Jeff.
If I can just piggyback on the SCI comments, I think it's worth noting that I think for over a year now we've been hearing from the school administration at SCI that the system's not working properly. And I can't speak to it, but for whatever reason, through our contractors, I'm not sure how seriously that was taken. There was lots of comments about the system needs to be balanced, it needs to be fine-tuned, you know, those types of comments that really didn't lead to much change. In our most recent round, one of the contractors came out, and someone who hadn't been on site for quite some time to look at the actual programming, and he actually indicated, yeah, no, this is wrong, the system's not working right, and I probably should have been here over a year ago. And so validation for the staff at SCI, who have been providing us that, well, not us, I should, providing the contractors that type of feedback was not getting a lot of results. And so we found out within the last couple of weeks that, yeah, no, there was a big problem. And as Jody indicated, once the programming has been done, we've actually seen some very promising results that we'll keep our fingers crossed to continue to hold up as the weather changes throughout the week. So maybe some light at the end of the tunnel.
We have still not paid these people, so do not pay them until we're totally satisfied as to what's going on. So whoever's signing checks, whatever we do, is that I'm one of them and you're one of them, and let's not sign any kind of check to give these people until we get it and we're totally satisfied with them. Because this is, I can tell you that if I was working in this school and, you know, this has been going on that long and it's hot and cold, yeah, you're blowing a gasket, right, as to what's going on. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, thanks. So with that leads us to our board business, and our next, our 8.1 is the Early Childhood Readiness Report, and I think that's you, Trev?
So just the Early Childhood Readiness Initiative, the report that is there for you. You've seen it in past years. It's very, very similar in terms of the information. But just a reminder that, you know, our Early Childhood Readiness Initiative, we like to bring all of our students who are entering kindergarten in sometime during, you know, over this school year for our kindergarten kids that'll be coming in next year. And we run them through a little bit of an assessment. Assessment's play-based, and it's, you know, when it happens here in the education center, everyone sounds like they're having a great time, but we're actually getting lots of information about from children, you know, on that. Just on this kind of second page of the report there, you know, just some of the participation rates that we've seen. So usually we see roughly between 85 and 90% you know, participation, which is pretty good. And of course, right now it's too early to tell because it's ongoing. We've had some families sort of volunteer that they're coming to kindergarten, and there's some assessments that have been done, but we're now just getting into kindergarten registration, where we're going to turn around and contact all those families that register for kindergarten and offer them the opportunity to participate in the assessment as the spring goes on. Really, it's about identifying our students that are coming to see us in the fall that have the greatest need. It's an opportunity to connect them with community supports and resources that the families may choose to access. But one of the big things it does is it really helps identify our highest need students, so schools can start planning and preparing and communicating with families well in advance of the start in September. So when these students come through the doors, schools are ready for them. And that's a big thing, and our schools really, really appreciate that opportunity. Just in closing, just the entire, sorry, I shouldn't say the entire, the vast majority of this entire program is paid for through a grant, the Early Childhood Development Grant that we received from Manitoba Education. And so it's a kind of a money in, money out through the grant in terms of what we're doing with this project. So.
Any questions for Trevor? Any questions from anybody online? So my question then is going to be to both you and Lars, and maybe Lars, this is more to you. So I think what I heard you say, the backbone of this is really so that our schools can plan and prepare well in advance for kids coming into kindergarten. So my question is it working?
I think an example to say yes, it's working would be the very small numbers of kids that show up unexpectedly that we all of a sudden have to do emergent planning for. So I think there literally may have been 2 last school year that, didn't know about this student and some pretty significant needs. That changes what schools are doing. And then they have to really rush to plan for a student at a time when school is starting up. So I think that's some pretty good evidence that it's working, because those kids it require a lot of advanced planning for, so that the school has picture boards ready, equipment ready. They've met with occupational therapists to have programming ready for when the kids start. We're missing very few of those kids now.
Yeah, so we can't prepare for people that we don't know about and they come in last minute. But my question is, for what we know that is coming in and that have gone through this process, our schools will tell us that we're well prepared for what they're coming in.
Yeah, Claudia, who does the bulk of the work, she has a very good sense of which kids need an in-depth transition planning process and which kids just need like an intake meeting. And that's worked very well for schools to help them follow up on those things, to make arrangements with parents. There's a whole transition to school process from the government with forms to fill out and information to gather about kids and team meetings. Having the advanced time to do that is critical, and we're getting that time.
I would just add, we have received direct feedback from schools at SELF meetings, how much they value this opportunity. And it actually won't be long before our school principals are asking about getting the data so they can start this process. And they undertake this process in April, May, and June. So they're not doing it in September, which is a very busy time of year. So yeah, so our principals want this information. They're hungry for it. If we don't give it to them in a timely fashion, they're looking for it because they value this opportunity in this process.
And this grant that we get comes with our funding each year, and so if we were to get this grant, you know what, it would be a conversation, but this is a grant that comes in to do all this. Okay. And is there any conversation about this grant not being there? Or do we know? Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. 8.2, get Kids Site Program Report. Trev?
So I just thought I would bring this one forward because I thought it may be of interest to the board. I don't know if any of our trustees knew that this was going on in the school division, but just the Kids Site programs offered through the Lions Foundation. And basically what it is the Lions Foundation arranges for someone to come in with a very sophisticated camera that takes a simple picture of a child's eyes. And whatever the magic of that technology is, it can, you know, with a very high success rate, refer students who may need a follow-up with an optometrist. And that provides families the opportunity to take their child to see the optometrist, which will often end up with glasses, which is a great way for young people to do, you know, to have a greater chance of being successful at school. We often miss, I shouldn't say we, it is often missed in young children that they need glasses because many parents don't take the time to take their child to an optometrist because it's not something we think of unless children start complaining about it. But for many young children, they're not even conscious of the fact that their eyes aren't working the way that they should. And so you can see on there some increasing numbers, as the word gets out around the division about the program, some information about, referrals and, the number that actually receive, care from the optometrist. So that's great. We're identifying and helping lots of Sunrise kids and families. And just finish with a thank you to our division social worker, Rena Weeb, who first brought this to our attention several years ago and continues to advocate and champion the program across our schools.
Any questions? Trustee Rowan?
Trevor, can you tell me what intervals, so what grades are typically looking at having this screening done?
I think we have it open to pretty much anyone in any of our schools. And so I know I would only say that from my experience in Powerview, where they were going right up through the middle years and into the high school.
Trustee Smith?
I'm actually the past president of the Lions Club in Beausejour, and we do it from little babies all the way up.
Felicia, anyone online? So Trev, obviously it looks like we're 20%, 20 to 25% of our students this year have been screened, and great opportunities to send information home to parents, whether it's early identification or as they're going through school. And talking with somebody that needed glasses all the way as a young kid, that's pretty good. So using that I couldn't read the chalkboard in grade 6 didn't help anymore. So kudos, nice work, and nice work then to Rena for continuing to go ahead and advocate for this with our children. Thank you. So we have our strategic plan review. I'm going to turn it over to you, Trev.
Yeah, just of course a reminder to the board that you have your strategic plan, and we set aside time a couple times a year to sort of revisit it and sort of check in and see what type of progress we're making. I've included here for you the strategic plan with some updates on it and tracking and when things have been done. I would say that the board's making great progress through their plan. And so just the invitation for, our chairperson to lead a bit of a conversation about next steps. Are there specific next steps? Is this still what you want to do for the rest of the year? But yeah, I would say pretty good progress at this point in the year.
I'm going to open this to the floor. Certainly anybody, you've read this and seen this. Any comments that you would like to make about it as to some of the things that we've done and some of the things that maybe we haven't done? Anyone want to comment? And again, just take a look. I think that the biggest thing is tracking or action items, accountability. What are some of the things that we said that we were going to go ahead and do, and some of the things as to where we are. So some of the things continued with, we talked about outreach and community connection. So anybody want to make comment? Trustee Boyton?
Just that I had mentioned to the Grafton principal that they're on our list for tours. So maybe if we could, I think last year we went around May 5th was our last date for a tour. So we still have Enola, Grafton, and Hofer Colony. And I think then we've done the whole division. So I guess just a heads up to maybe for senior admin to plan a tour for us in around May or April.
Thanks for the reminder, Lorraine. Anyone? So one of the things that we haven't done is we said that, and I don't know if we just haven't done it yet, and maybe we just need to direct ask for Trevor, but it was about a social media, correct, Trev? It was about a social, getting smart on social media. A number of people were not putting us on social media, but us getting smart as trustees, as individuals about social media. Correct, Trev? Did I say that right? Okay. So we were talking about having some kind of a learning session with regard to that. Is there still that interest for us to do that? Social media guru Harris is saying yes, let's go ahead and do that. Just teasing you. Anyone else? Melissa is saying, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Lorraine, no?
Just with all the talk of social media lately, sometimes I'm thinking that I'd rather not be on social media. Sometimes you make comments on social media and you get attacked by it, but I mean, I definitely want to learn something about it, and not that I'm going to use it a lot, but maybe just to scope out everybody else. My motto is always, give me a phone call. I'd sooner talk to people than post something and get attacked for something or have it misinterpreted. I find that that's usually the thing, that it's just misinterpreted. You don't hear the tone of the voice, and you take it whichever way you think you want to take it, and it can be taken wrong. But I definitely would like to learn more, and I guess I'll throw myself out there.
No, great points for us to consider, certainly. Alicia, did you want to add anything?
Information's good. I'm not a huge social media person, but it's always good to have more information, I guess.
I can ask the trustees online. Dustin?
Yeah, I think I could benefit from some social media training. I kind of side with, excuse me, Lorraine. I like a phone call or meeting in person as opposed to putting messaging out that might be taken out of context or scrutinized inappropriately. So, but knowledge is power, so no, I'd be into that.
Thanks. Donna? Okay, I'll come back to you, Donna. Diane?
I'm open to training. Always can learn something, so sure.
Thank you. Dawn?
I'm like Lorraine. I'm not a fan of social media. I think there's other ways, a better way to communicate than social media. But I'm like, as a teacher, you always want to learn, so I'd be interested in learning things. I'll probably never use it, but there's no harm in trying.
Perfect. Donna, I'm going to come back to you. Okay, maybe we've lost Donna. I can tell you that, yeah, I'm on a little bit of social media. With my high school hockey team, I can get better and better and smarter, but it's all the stuff that the kids are doing in front of me that I sometimes have no clue of, and I look like an old guy. I am an old guy, but I would like to get a little bit smarter, certainly, on it as to where we go through. So I think one of the things that we did say that we would, the use of social media and get a little bit smarter, maybe Trev, you and I can sit down and talk a little bit about what exactly, and then let's come up with a learning session for the group. Anything else about the social media, the strategic plan that we've talked about? Okay, let's move on. Student engagement activity report. I think that's probably just for information, what are schools. I think a reminder, we put this out, I think Melissa and Alicia, we put this out, you know, probably about a year ago. There was a little bit, and then we just keep on adding to it, and we want to find out what's going on in the different schools. It's also not a bad idea to share with the school principals as well. And I know for sure that when the school principals say, hey, I do that too, they want to add to it, but it's a good little tool certainly for our board and for our schools. So I don't know if anybody wants to make any comment to it, but you have that information there in front of you. It's really just for information for us. Anyone? Trustee Boydson?
Just one question. Up at Enola School, it says in there more focused transitions to SCI and EESS from Enola. Do we have kids going to Edwards Fire School from Enola?
I would need to look that up to confirm, but there would be the potential that we could have families applying for in-school or in division schools of choice and attending that school through the school choice program. So,
thanks for that. We're going to move on. 8.5 accounts receivable write-off. I'm going to read the motion. We'll put the motion on the floor, and then if any questions to Jody, we can do it. Be it resolved that the board approve the amount of $3,250 for invoice 2024-013 to be written off. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Boyton, seconded by trustee Rowan. Any questions to this? Anything, Jody, that you need to explain to this, or maybe it's self-sufficient in the explanation? Any questions from anyone? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. Sarah, you're awesome. Committee reports. So trustee Rowan, our policy committee, is there any updates that you would like? So we've got minutes and we've got notice of motions. So did you want to comment on any of that, trustee Rowan?
Nothing additional there. The minutes are there, and yeah, we're bringing notice of motion for policies 5 and 15. We'll talk about them next meeting.
So any questions on the minutes from anyone? Anyone online? Any questions then on 8.8, policy number 5, that's being revised, or that has a notice of motion to be revised, or a notice of motion for policy number 15 for the policy committee? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. The Finance Committee update, trustee Nicol, we've got minutes, and we do have some motions. Dawn, anything from the minutes that you want to highlight for the board?
No, the minutes are there. So, just that, like I mentioned before, there will be notice of motion coming in March about indemnity bylaw.
Thanks, Dawn. Anything from anybody with the minutes from the Finance Committee? Okay. We do have 8.12, a check register. Be it resolved that the board received the December 2024 check register. The total amount of checks issued at $3,667,208.03. Received on January 16th by the Finance Committee for information as submitted. Moved by trustee Nicol, is that correct?
Yeah.
Seconded by trustee Boyton. Any questions to the check register? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. Anything from so there's nothing for 8.13 from the Education Foundation Committee. There's no minutes that are there. It doesn't seem like we have anything from the Ad Hoc Land Planning Committee, correct, Melissa?
I'll just add that I am starting to look at dates for a tour of the Niverville complex. I'm not looking likely until March or April.
Melissa, I was just there playing a high school hockey game. It was amazing. It was, if you haven't seen it, the school is attached to this ginormous gym, to this ginormous hockey rink, to this it's beautiful. And so I talked to one of the teachers from the school. He goes, yeah, it's not too bad. I just walked down from my classroom. It is amazing. What a beautiful building. It's really nice. Okay. Professional development information. So there's information there about the Northeast Municipal Forum. It's February the 10th. Sarah, people that have we've asked out for information for people to let Sarah know if you can go ahead and attend. Sarah, is there anything that we need to, from anyone? Okay, so most everyone hasn't responded. We'll give the evil eye to Sarah, you're going to give the evil eye to the people that haven't responded. Please get it into Sarah. We also have the MSBA convention. Has everyone responded to you about that? So we're there with the MSBA convention. Thank you for that. That's the 21st and 22nd. All the details a lot of them are out, but some of the details will come out a little bit later with it. We have Divisional Financial Summary Report. It's for information, 10.1. Is there anything, Jody, that we've got the information here? Is there anything that we need to know about?
No, I think something that we brought up, or it was brought to my attention, and I brought to the Finance Committee about the projected surplus. We noted that it does fluctuate, and we've talked about maybe a form of communication with the board and how the Finance Committee uses the projected surplus. So I think there'll be more communication down the road in regards to what it's used for and how it's utilized for the Finance Committee and for budget details and budget purposes. But other than that, there's a lot of information in the Divisional Financial Summary Report. And if anybody has questions, feel free to ask away. Nothing really to comment on.
The only thing that I will comment on here, Jody, is that we are now into our line of credit, and that's because of money that we have not yet received from a number of sources. Is that correct?
No, so we're out of dipping into our line of credit now. So we've received our municipality monies, but they are a little bit slower than normal just because of the postal strike. Some were holding off on their checks, but we are out of dipping into our line of credit at the end of December. We'll see being in the surplus for January and February, and then dip back in.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so let's keep going. Board correspondence, thanks for that information that's there. Nice to know information. Thanks, Sarah, for putting all that together. A number of different things that are going on there. Anything that anybody wants to highlight in the nice to know information? Okay, so we have upcoming meetings, our regular board meetings, but a reminder that we continue to have budget meetings that are moving on. I do believe that we have a budget meeting this Thursday. Is that correct, Jody? We have one this Thursday? Okay. Am I missing anything from anybody? We don't have any press releases that are going out. I guess, Jody, 14.1 questions. Are there any questions from the public?
I'm just going to refresh my emails just in case, but there was nothing a few minutes ago, so. But it's all quiet. Nothing coming through.
Okay, so we did have one motion, thanks Sarah, for items that came from in camera, and it's be it resolved that the board approve Trustee Boytson, Trustee Nicol, Trustee Smith, and Trustee Rowan to be part of the Maintenance Manager Hiring Committee. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Harris. Perfect. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. In the past 9-0. Thank you for stepping up to go ahead and do that. Trevor, have we got everything done? Trustee Harris, have we got everything done?
I'm afraid we're early.
Oh, okay. We just wanted to see that. All right. Is there anything else from anyone? All right, people stay online, but we are going to sign off. We are going to go and get a little bit of feedback on our meeting, so please stay on, but we're going to sign off for the people that are online. Certainly everybody stay safe and stay warm. Have a good one. Our meeting's adjourned.